Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It was exactly 12:04 a.m. when the front door creaked open and slammed shut. Loud, clumsy, careless. I was standing in the kitchen, lights low, arms crossed, mug of untouched tea cooling on the counter behind me. I'd been standing there for almost an hour, just waiting, not pacing, not breathing heavy, just waiting like a loaded spring. The click of her heels came next. Olivia, my wife, the director of the School of Social Policy at Arlington University. My wife who, hours ago, told me she was going out for a quick drink with some girlfriends from work. She stumbled into the kitchen, jacket half off one shoulder, eyeliner smudged like she'd been crying or dancing, and her hair, once a neat bun, was now wild and tangled. But the first thing I noticed wasn't her appearance. It was the smell. Smoke, alcohol, sweat, a haze of bass-heavy club air clinging to her like a confession. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't move. "You're late," I said, letting the silence press in around those two words. She blinked like she hadn't expected me to still be up. "Daniel, please," she sighed, dragging off her heels with a wobble. "I was out with the girls. Don't do this right now." I stepped forward, slow and deliberate. "You said drinks. You didn't say 5 hours. You didn't say you'd come home smelling like a college bar." She laughed, a short, sharp sound that didn't touch her eyes. "I didn't know I needed a curfew. I didn't know you were still living like you were 22. Her eyes flashed. "Wow, that's rich coming from the guy who hasn't left the house past 9 p.m. in 3 years. That hit harder than I let her see. But I didn't flinch, because I was home, with you, building something, while you were doing whatever that was. I pointed vaguely toward her whole disheveled frame, trying to keep my voice from cracking open. "I'm not cheating, Daniel," she said, too fast. "I danced. I drank. I laughed. Is that illegal now?" "No," I said calmly. "But lying by omission? Yeah, that's new." She rolled her eyes, turned her back. "I'm tired. I have meetings in the morning." I watched her walk toward the stairs like I wasn't even there. "Olivia." She stopped at the bottom step, but didn't turn around. "You're the director of an entire university department. You walk into your home at midnight looking like a mess, brushing off your husband like an intern. Don't you see what that looks like?" She turned her head just enough to give me a sideways glance. "You're making this into something it's not." I nodded slowly. "Maybe. Or maybe you're trying to turn this house into something it was never supposed to be." She said nothing, just climbed the stairs, one heel in hand, the other forgotten. And that's when it started, the first crack in the glass. That hollow feeling you get when you realize the person sleeping beside you might already be gone. I stood in that quiet kitchen a long time after she vanished upstairs. The tea was cold. The silence was heavier than any argument. For anyone else looking in, we were a successful, respected couple in Arlington. Nice house, university titles, clean lawn. But that night, something shifted. And I knew it. Because betrayal doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it just smells like club smoke and comes home late. 3 nights later, my phone lit up at 2:11 a.m. The screen read Kara Timmons, Olivia's colleague, a friend of hers from the university, barely an acquaintance to me. I answered on instinct, heart already thudding. "Daniel, I'm so sorry to call this late," Kara stammered, her voice tight with nerves. "But she's not okay. She's at Club 5 on 11th. She's a little, she had too much. I tried to put her in an Uber, but she's being difficult." I sat up straight in bed, rubbing my eyes. "Where exactly is she? Is she safe?" "She's laughing and dancing, if that counts. I just didn't want to leave her alone. She said she's fine, but, Daniel, can you come get her?" I didn't hesitate. Club 5 was loud, even from the outside. Blue lights pulsing through the tinted windows, a line of 20-somethings snaking down the sidewalk, most of them looking like they'd never met a morning meeting in their lives. I spotted Kara first, standing near the bouncer, clutching her phone and pacing. "She's inside," she said the second I stepped out of my car. "Daniel, I didn't know she'd get like this." She was already 2 drinks in when I showed up. "I'll handle it," I said, already moving past her. Inside was chaos, body heat, spilled drinks, a blur of strobe lights, and booming bass. It took me less than 2 minutes to find her. There she was, in a red dress I'd never seen before, laughing, twirling, her head thrown back in carefree abandon. A man's hand on her waist. Not inappropriate. Not yet, but far too familiar. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't even flinch. "Olivia," I said quietly when I stepped beside her. She turned, squinting like she couldn't quite place me. "Oh, look who it is," she sang. "Professor Daniel with the Midnight Rescue Mission. Come on, let's go," I said firmly. She grinned lazily, pressed a hand to my chest. "I'm not ready to go home yet. You're going. Now." She looked at me, really looked, and then something shifted in her expression. A flicker of guilt. She turned and gave a vague wave to her group, then followed me out without another word. The silence in the car was deafening. I waited until we hit the highway before speaking. "You're the director of an academic department, Olivia. A leader. Do you understand what it looks like to be drunk in public with your students watching?" "Oh, stop," she groaned, leaning her head against the window. "You think I embarrassed you? This isn't about embarrassment. This is about recklessness." She turned to me, laughing bitterly. "You think because I run a department, I'm not allowed to be a person? God, Daniel, I spend all day being polished and professional. Sometimes I need to blow off steam. Sorry if that offends your image of me." "I'm not offended," I said quietly. "I'm concerned. About you. About us." "Oh, come on," she muttered. "Not everything is a crisis." I went out. I had fun. I got a little drunk. End of story. "Not end of story," I replied. "This is the second time in less than a week you've come home like this." She rolled her eyes. "So what? Now you're counting? Are you keeping a file? Should I sign in and out like I'm in a dorm?" I gripped the wheel tighter, jaw locked. "I just want to understand what's going on with you." "What's going on?" she snapped, sitting up straighter, "is I'm tired. Tired of carrying everything. Tired of being the one people expect to have it all together. Sometimes I just want to disappear into noise and music and forget who I am for a few hours. That's not the Olivia I married." "No," she said, staring out the window again. That Olivia would have cracked by now. The rest of the drive passed in silence. No music. No more words. Just the sound of tires slicing through cold asphalt and the ticking clock on the dash. When we pulled into the driveway, she didn't wait for me. She got out, heels in hand, and walked barefoot up the steps without looking back. I sat there a few more minutes, staring at the closed front door. Something had shifted. Not just in her, but in me. This wasn't a phase. This wasn't stress. This was a woman pulling away from her life, and not caring who noticed. And I wasn't going to be the husband who begged. I'd be the one who watched. And when the truth finally surfaced, I'd already be ready. The smell of Colombian roast drifted through the kitchen like a peace offering the next morning. I stood by the island counter, 2 mugs already poured. I'd even warmed up the blueberry muffins she liked, store-bought, but she never minded. Olivia came down late, moving slower than usual. Still in her robe, no makeup, hair in a loose knot. She looked tired, like the weight of last night had started to catch up to her. I slid a mug her way. "Coffee. Strong." She took it without a word, sat down at the table, eyes bleary. For a moment, we just sipped in silence. Then I went for it. "I've been thinking," I said gently. "Maybe we should talk to someone." Her eyes narrowed. "Someone? A therapist? Just a few sessions." She exhaled sharply, like I'd said something offensive. "You think I'm broken now?" "No. I think we're disconnected. And I want to fix it." She shook her head, leaning back in her chair. "You want to fix me, Daniel. That's the difference." "That's not what I said." "It's what you meant," she snapped. "You always do this, try to manage things like a project. You see me going through something, and instead of listening, you schedule a solution." "Olivia, come on." "No," she said, voice rising. "Don't, Olivia, come on me. You want a wife who smiles, who keeps the house clean, who comes home by 10 and never raises her voice. But guess what? I'm not your assistant, and I'm done being your little trophy for faculty dinners." I stared at her, the sting sharp and deep. "Is that how you see me?" She stood up abruptly, coffee untouched. "I'm going to the gym." She wasn't. She left 20 minutes later, dressed in a leather jacket and jeans, not a single gym bag in sight. And I followed. I stayed 2 cars behind, careful at every stoplight. She never looked in the mirror. She was too confident I wouldn't follow her. But I did. Club 5 again. On a Monday. I parked a block away and waited 10 minutes before going in. It was quieter than the weekend rush, but the music still pulsed, and the lights still cut through the dark like electric veins. I spotted her near the bar, laughing, flirting, dancing, and the guy with her? He was younger, Too young. Tall. Curly brown hair. Wearing a university hoodie. My stomach turned to stone. I knew that face. Joshua Lehrman. Political science undergrad. Bright kid. She'd mentioned him once at dinner months ago, praised his potential. Now he had his hand on her waist. I didn't confront them. Didn't call out. Didn't breathe. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and kept my distance. They danced close. She leaned in, whispered something. He smiled. That was enough. I slipped out quietly, unnoticed. Back in my car, I stared at the screen. 30 seconds of footage. Just enough. Not to shame her, but to confirm the truth I already felt in my bones. This wasn't about blowing off steam. This wasn't stress. This was betrayal, with a name and a student ID. It was just past midnight when I sat alone in my study, the only light coming from the desk lamp and the glow of my phone. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Olivia hadn't come home. I replayed the video once. Then again. I didn't need to. I already knew what it showed. Not a mistake. Not confusion. Confidence. Comfort. Familiarity. I set the phone down and pressed my fingers to my temples. Out there, in a crowded club, she hadn't just crossed a line, she'd erased it. With a student. With witnesses. With zero concern for the life we shared or the reputation she guarded so fiercely during daylight hours. I wasn't angry yet. I was clear. I opened our message thread. Me, where are you? 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Olivia, out. Why? I stared at the screen, letting the calm settle before answering. Me, it's after midnight. A pause this time. Longer. Olivia and... I exhaled slowly. Me, we need to talk. Her reply came sharp and careless. Olivia, about what? You following me now too? My jaw tightened. Me, come home. Another pause. Then, Olivia, honestly, Daniel, if you don't like how I live my life, maybe we should just divorce. I felt something click into place, like a lock finally turning. No denial. No apology. No fear. Just a threat she clearly thought still worked. I picked up the phone, thumb hovering. Me, you're sure you want to say that? Seconds passed. Then, Olivia, I'm tired of being interrogated. I won't be controlled. Controlled. I looked around the study, the bookshelves I built, the framed photos from conferences we attended together, the awards she'd insisted we hang where guests could see them. Control had never been the issue. Me, I asked where you were. That's it. She replied with a laughing emoji. That's when I knew. I didn't type another word. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I attached the video. 30 seconds. No caption. Just truth. The delivered checkmark appeared. Then nothing. 1 minute passed. 2. My phone rang. I didn't answer. It rang again. And again. Finally, a message came through. Olivia, where did you get that? I waited. Olivia, Daniel, this is nothing. You're overreacting. I leaned back in my chair, feeling oddly steady. Me, that's a student. From your department. No response. Then, Olivia, delete it. Now. I almost smiled. Me, no. The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Olivia, you're trying to ruin me. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the dark street. Me, you did that yourself. Another call. I let it ring out. The silence afterward felt different than before. Not heavy. Clean. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't guessing anymore. The marriage wasn't slipping away. It had already ended. And I would walk out of it without raising my voice. Only with the truth in my pocket. The front door slammed open so hard it rattled the frame. I didn't flinch. I was still in my study, seated, calm, the phone face down on the desk beside me. Olivia's heels clicked down the hallway with the desperation of someone who'd just realized she couldn't undo what she'd already set in motion. She burst through the doorway, chest heaving, eyes wild. Her hair was windblown, her lipstick faded, and her voice cracked the moment she spoke. Daniel, please, delete that video. I said nothing. She took a shaky step forward. You don't understand. That could destroy everything. If someone else sees it, if the board, I didn't send it to the board, I said, meeting her eyes. Yet. She stopped. Her breath caught. Then she dropped her bag and walked closer, hands shaking. You can't do this to me. I didn't record it for revenge, I said evenly. I recorded it to wake up. And it worked. She blinked fast. It's not what it looked like. He's just a student I mentor. He needed help, and we had a few drinks, and I got carried away. You danced with him. I was drinking. You flirted. I didn't mean he touched you. She froze. I stood up slowly. You crossed a line, Olivia. Not just as my wife. As a department director. That boy reports to you. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then, suddenly, she sank to the floor. Not dramatic. Not fake. Her legs gave out. She knelt on the rug in front of me, staring at my shoes like they might hold the answer. I made a mistake, she whispered. No, I replied. You made a choice. Her hands clutched the hem of my sweater like she was holding onto the last thread of her dignity. I don't want this to end like this. Please, we can fix this. I'll quit drinking. I'll cut off contact. I'll resign if you want. Just give me a chance. I'm not asking you to resign, I said. I'm asking you to let go. Her head snapped up. Let go. I want a divorce, I said clearly. No drama. No public fallout. No drawn-out court battles. Just clean and fast. She shook her head, tears springing to her eyes. Daniel, no. We can go to therapy. I'll do it this time. I swear. Just delete the video and let me prove I can change. I already gave you that chance, I said, and you laughed in my face. You said, let's divorce, like it meant nothing. I didn't mean it, she whispered, her voice breaking. I did, I said. The room fell still. The woman kneeling in front of me wasn't the Olivia who used to command lecture halls and faculty meetings with sharp wit and power heels. This was someone lost, desperate, and somehow, even as I looked down at her, I didn't feel triumph. I felt freedom. She swallowed hard. What do you want from me? A lawyer, I said simply. That's it. Her voice dropped to a hush. And the video? It stays with me. If you try to fight me, if you drag this out or go public, I use it. She nodded slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. I walked past her, out of the study, and into the kitchen. The tea from earlier was still there. Cold. I dumped it and started boiling water for a fresh cup. Behind me, I heard her get up. Her footsteps were softer now. Defeated. I'll call someone in the morning, she said quietly from the doorway. I didn't look back. Thank you, she added, for not ruining me. I finally turned around. I'm not interested in ruining you, Olivia. I just don't want to be ruined by you. She gave a broken nod, then walked upstairs without another word. That night, I slept on the guest bed. Alone. The room was cold, but my mind was finally quiet. No wondering. No waiting. Just peace. 6 months later, I traded glass walls and silence for sunlight and the smell of oil paint. Alexandria was slower. Softer. My apartment sat above a bakery, and every morning smelled like fresh sourdough and burnt espresso. I didn't mind the noise, the clatter of deliveries, or kids on skateboards. I welcomed it. It reminded me I was somewhere new. But what truly made it different was Elise. I met her at a local art fair. She was selling small canvas prints, sitting barefoot on a folding chair, smudges of paint across her knuckles. She wasn't loud or flashy. She didn't try to sell me anything. In fact, she barely noticed I was standing there until I cleared my throat twice. Sorry, she said with a grin. I was trying to figure out if I hated this one or just mildly regretted it. I looked down at the canvas. Looks like regret with a nice frame. That made her laugh, really laugh. And it was warm. Uncomplicated. We got coffee 2 days later. Then dinner. Then a walk along the Potomac that felt more honest than most of my marriage. Now, Elise spends most of her mornings at the little studio she's set up in the back room. The walls are splattered with color, and every corner holds a different mood. Hope, frustration, joy, even a little chaos. This morning, she was painting the sky. You're up early, I said, leaning against the doorway, still holding my mug. I couldn't sleep, she replied, brushing a streak of orange into the corner. My head was too loud. I nodded. I knew that feeling well. She turned to me suddenly. Can I ask you something? Of course. Did it ever feel like, with her, you were performing? That caught me. Not because she was wrong, but because I hadn't said it out loud before. I sat down on the edge of the window seat. All the time, like I was a well-rehearsed version of myself. Polite, helpful, predictable. She liked me better that way. Elise didn't speak right away. She just picked up a brush, dipped it in yellow, and said softly, I like you better when you're messy. I smiled. I haven't been messy in a long time. Well, she said, with a wink, you're due. Later that day, we sat on the floor with coffee and books. No TV. No forced conversation. She reached for my hand at some point without looking. I didn't pull away. You don't have to keep explaining yourself, she said suddenly. You can just be. That hit harder than I expected. My chest tightened, but not with fear, with relief. Because for once, I wasn't being studied or measured. I was just seen. She didn't ask about Olivia unless I brought her up. And when I did, Elise listened, quietly, without jumping in, without judgment. She didn't tell me I deserved better. She didn't tell me Olivia was a monster. She just asked, did it hurt as much as it looks like it did? And when I nodded, she nodded too. Like that answer was enough. That's the thing about Elise. She doesn't fix you. She doesn't try. She just makes space for you to breathe again. And for the first time in years, I was learning what breathing actually felt like. It was a cold, brittle afternoon in late November. Rain drizzled against the windows like a soft warning, and I was halfway through folding laundry when the apartment door flew open. Elise. She stepped in quickly, dripping wet, her hands shaking, face pale, eyes wide. Something was wrong. Elise, what happened? She didn't answer right away. Just stood there in the entryway, keys clenched tight, shoulders trembling as she pulled a folded slip of paper from her coat pocket. I crossed the room in 3 strides and took it from her. It wasn't long. You're not safe with him. Get out now, or you'll regret it. The handwriting, the pressure in the strokes. I knew it instantly. Olivia. What else happened? I asked, my voice low. She hesitated, then swallowed. The note was left on my windshield. But before that, someone keyed the passenger side. Deep, crude lines, like they wanted me to notice. My jaw clenched. Did anyone see her? Elise shook her head. But it was her, Daniel. I know it. She messaged me last week from some throwaway account. Same language. Same tone. I blocked it. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to keep my voice even. Why didn't you tell me about that? Because I thought she'd stop. I thought if I stayed quiet, she'd just fade. I pulled her in close. She's not fading. She's escalating. Elise buried her face into my chest, her voice muffled. She told me to leave you. Said I was a rebound. That I don't know who you really are. I held her tighter. She's wrong. I know, Elise whispered. But Daniel, I was scared. Not of her. Just of what this could turn into. I've never had someone hate me for being loved. That sentence hit deep. I pulled back gently, looked her in the eyes. I promise you this ends now. No more warnings. No more walking on eggshells. Her voice was small. What are you going to do? I'm going to finish what she started, I said. But on my terms. We stood there for a moment, both of us breathing in the storm quietly building between our lives and Olivia's shadow. You don't have to protect me, Elise murmured. I'm not fragile. I know, I said. But someone crossed a line today, and I don't let that slide. Her hand found mine again. Just be careful. Don't become someone you're not. I won't, I promised. But inside, I already knew what had to happen next. This wasn't just bitterness anymore. It was intimidation, harassment, a threat against someone I loved. And Olivia had officially made her final move. Now it was my turn. If this part resonates, give the video a thumbs up. The next morning, I walked into the law offices of Grayson and Tull wearing the only wool coat I owned. It was a Wednesday. Cold. The kind of cold that got into your hands no matter how tight you clenched your fists in your pockets. The receptionist looked up as I stepped inside. Mr. Langston? Yes. Mr. Garvey will see you now. Upstairs, the office smelled like polished wood and old carpet. The legal kind of silence. A man in his late 50s stood as I entered, slick gray hair, thin glasses, a face that had seen decades of lies and billable hours. Daniel Langston, he said, offering a hand. Been briefed on your case. Have a seat. I passed him the flash drive. This is it, he asked. Video from 6 months ago. Shot by me, in public. Clear view of her, Olivia Langston, dancing with a student from her department. He inserted the drive into his laptop. We both watched in silence. I kept my eyes on him, not the screen. I'd seen it enough times to know every frame by heart. After it ended, he exhaled slowly. Closed the lid. This is career ending. You're aware of that? I am. She's still employed, correct? Yes. And you want to file this anonymously with the university board? No. I looked him square in the eyes. My name goes on it. No backdoor leaks. No hidden games. I want this clean. He studied me for a second. That's rare. This isn't revenge, I said. It's about accountability. You understand this may ruin her professionally. Full investigation. Likely resignation. Possibly blacklisted from other universities. I'm not asking for punishment, I said. I'm asking for truth. If I'd done what she did, you and I both know the fallout would have been immediate. He nodded. You're right. I reached into my coat pocket and slid a manila folder across the table. Witness names. Club employees who remember her. I spoke to one. He's willing to confirm the student's frequent presence. Garvey opened it, flipped through. You've done your homework. I've had time. He sat back in his chair, lacing his fingers. I'll file everything today. The board will take this seriously. Prepare yourself for questions, possibly even a deposition. They may reach out. I nodded. I'm ready. He passed me a single page. Then sign here to authorize the release under your name. I picked up the pen without hesitation. No tremble. No pause. Signature, Daniel Langston. When I stood, Garvey rose too. You may never see the result directly, he said. But it'll come. That I promise. I don't need a headline, I replied. I just need to sleep without checking the locks twice. I left without another word. Outside, the sky was flat and gray. Snow flurries danced in circles down the street. I zipped my coat, slid my hands into my pockets, and started walking. And with each step through the cold, my body felt a little lighter. Not because I'd struck back, but because I'd finally stepped forward. 2 days after the submission, I heard the knock. Not a polite knock. Not casual. It was urgent, uneven, like someone who wasn't sure if they had the right to be there, but couldn't stop themselves anyway. I opened the door to find Olivia on the other side. She looked nothing like the woman who used to command rooms with a raised brow and a clipboard. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her coat hung loose over her frame. Makeup smeared along the edges like she'd cried and tried to fix it, then gave up halfway through. Her breath puffed in quick, white clouds into the cold December air. Elise isn't here, I said quietly. I'm not here for her, Olivia murmured, her voice brittle. I'm here for you. I didn't move, didn't open the door any wider. You shouldn't have come. I know, she said, and that one word cracked. For a long second, neither of us said anything. Then she wrapped her arms around herself and took a step forward, barely crossing the threshold. I got the call from the university board this morning, she said. They've launched a formal inquiry. Asked me about Josh, about the club, about everything. I watched her eyes, not the words. I wanted to know if she'd come to fight or to confess. I didn't lie, she added. I told them the truth. Most of it. I stayed silent. They said they have a video, she whispered. That someone submitted it officially with their name attached. You didn't even try to hide it, did you? No. She looked down. You could have buried me anonymously, but you wanted me to see your name on the end of it. No, I said evenly. I just wanted the truth to stop hiding behind closed doors. That quieted her. After a moment, she stepped back from the threshold and leaned against the brick wall next to the doorway. I thought if you saw me out there, laughing, dancing, letting go, maybe you'd realize you still cared. Maybe you'd come after me. My hands tightened against the doorframe. So it was all just a game? She winced. No, not a game. A tactic. I was angry. You moved on so quickly. That girl, Elise. She doesn't have your past, your history. I thought, if I could make you feel what I felt, you'd come back. But I didn't leave, Olivia, I said. You did. Long before I met Elise. She blinked fast, tears welling again. I didn't know how far I'd fall until I'd already jumped. And now I've lost everything. The board is reviewing my position. Josh hasn't returned any of my messages, probably terrified I've ruined his future. My colleagues don't even look me in the eye. And Daniel. Her voice cracked, and for the first time, her knees buckled just slightly. Not dramatic. Not staged. Real. Daniel, I miss being seen by you. I closed my eyes briefly. That line, being seen. Elise had said it differently, had made it feel like liberation. But from Olivia, it sounded like a withdrawal slip. One last try at an emotional deposit. I opened my eyes. I don't hate you, I said. She looked up quickly, stunned. I don't. I wanted to for a while. But what I feel now is hope. Hope that this pain becomes the start of something better for you. Her lips trembled. Do you still love me? I didn't flinch. I love the version of you that used to fight for us. I haven't seen her in a long time. A single sob escaped her lips. I'm not coming back, I said gently. And this isn't something you can fix by falling apart in front of me. She wiped at her cheeks, makeup streaking further. So that's it. I nodded. That's it. She took a step back. Her eyes met mine one last time. Tell her she's lucky, she said softly. Elise, tell her to take care of you. She already does. I didn't slam the door. I didn't shout. I didn't feel the rush of vengeance or satisfaction. I just closed it slowly, carefully, and let the lock slide into place. On the other side, I heard her steps retreat. Not running, just walking away, quieter than when she came. And in that silence, I exhaled something I didn't even know I'd been holding. It was over. For real this time. Not with rage. Not with fire. Just with the quiet sound of a door clicking shut and not reopening. The room was glowing gold. It was one of those New Year's Eve gatherings that felt more like a living room concert than a party. String lights looped across the ceiling, champagne flutes resting on every surface, a record player humming soft jazz somewhere in the background. I was leaning against a bookshelf, half listening to a guy in glasses explain why he hated resolutions, when Elise slipped beside me. Her hand slid into mine naturally, like we'd done it 1,000 times before. You okay? She asked, her voice low but warm. I nodded. Yeah, just watching the clock. Waiting for the fireworks or the year to end? Both, I said with a small smile. We sipped our drinks and let the background noise fade into a pleasant hum. Elise wore a deep green dress, hair tucked behind one ear, paint still faintly visible on her fingertips. That detail always made me smile, like she was never not herself, even when dressed up. As the host passed by offering more bubbly, I overheard a conversation behind me, half a sentence that stopped me in place. Yeah, she left the university. Word is, she's in Spain now or something. I turned my head slightly. Two of Olivia's former colleagues were talking by the fireplace. One of them noticed me and gave a quick, awkward nod. Daniel, she said, didn't realize you were here. Small world. It is, I replied calm. The other woman cleared her throat. Just talking about. Well, you probably heard. I let the silence hang for a beat. Olivia. Both nodded. She resigned last week, one said. Technically not fired, but everyone knows what happened. The board made it clear, leave quietly or face public review. And Spain? I asked. Barcelona. Sabbatical. Or escape, depending on who you ask. They chuckled nervously, unsure of how I'd take it. Thank you, I said simply, lifting my glass slightly in acknowledgement. And then I turned back toward Elise. She didn't ask what they said. She just watched me, steady as ever. I exhaled through my nose, slowly. She's gone. Elise didn't react with surprise. Just a gentle squeeze of my hand. Does it feel like closure? She asked. No, I said. It feels quiet. She smiled. That's better, isn't it? I looked at her, then around the room. At the warm light, the people laughing, the faint tick of the wall clock as midnight approached. Yeah, I said. It is. A cheer went up suddenly. 10, 9, 8. We turned toward the countdown. Elise leaned her head against my shoulder. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. The room erupted in noise, glasses clinking, couples kissing, someone blowing a party horn wildly off-key. I didn't say much, just turned to Elise, touched my glass to hers, and whispered, to peace. To starting from clean canvas, she said, her eyes soft and sure. We drank. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking about who Olivia used to be or what she'd become. I was thinking about the now, the warmth beside me, the space inside me that no longer ached. No more bleeding edges, just healed seams and a fresh page. The night air was crisp, and the moon hung low above the trees, casting silver over the path as Elise and I walked hand in hand through the quiet park. The party was still faintly echoing behind us, music and laughter trailing off like the final notes of a long song. That guy singing Sinatra at the piano, she said, laughing softly. He had no business hitting those notes. None, I said, chuckling. But he tried like his life depended on it. She nudged my arm playfully. I liked how you didn't even flinch when they dragged you into that toast circle. I'm getting better at not running. She glanced over at me. I noticed. We walked a little farther. The lake shimmered in the distance, still and dark. Then she stopped. Daniel, she said quietly. Thank you. For protecting what we have. For drawing the line when you needed to. I turned to face her. You didn't ask me to, I said. But I saw what was coming. And I knew I had to. She nodded, eyes searching mine. It means everything. I've never felt this safe. I held her gaze, but my mind wandered for a moment. To the night Olivia stumbled through the front door, laughter on her lips, smoke in her hair. That night was the first fracture, the first flicker of something I didn't want to believe. And now I stood here, changed, not hardened, but sure. I didn't fight Olivia, I said. I fought for peace. Elise leaned her head on my shoulder. We kept walking, the moon above us, the silence around us. And in that silence, a quiet truth settled in my chest like a final answer. Some men chase chaos. Others guard peace like a home worth defending. I chose the latter, and I wasn't looking back. That was the end of my story. I still wonder about one thing. When Olivia showed up at my door crying, do you think she truly regretted what she did, or was she just afraid of the fallout? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd really like to know what you think. And if this story hit you somewhere real, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more.